Morning and welcome to Council Watch, back to normal Council Watch activities today. I've been watching the Personnel Committee meeting. Now, usually that is incredibly boring. Why? Well, most of the nitty-gritty in a personnel meeting is done in the secret session for, to be honest, very obvious reasons. You know, if you're going to talk about staffing matters and people's holidays and changes to their contracts and whether you can afford to employ a new staff member, all that sort of stuff, you can't really do that in public, can you? I mean, I think most of us who've ever either worked for yourself or worked for a boss know that one of the trickiest things to ever talk about, especially with people you work with, is how much you get paid. Because you know, I think we all work for a number of reasons, but the most obvious one is to pay the bills, to live. But then, of course, if you work a bit harder than Fred in the next office, you sort of rather hope that you'll be appreciated and you'll get a bit more money. And if you then discover that Fred, who doesn't do anything at all, gets paid more than you, it's friction. I mean, it's happened to me loads of times over the years. And it's also happened to me when I've been employing other people. You have to pay that person more money than that person, even if they don't do so much, for a variety of reasons. And so my rule, explained to me once by my old boss, was just don't talk about wages. It makes it far less stressful. And stress this certainly does appear to be causing. Let's set the scene. One of the agenda items is to talk about publishing staff pay. Not just the councillors, because the councillors, of course, know. All the people on that personnel committee know exactly how much everybody gets paid. That's what the personnel committee does. But us as members of the public, should we be entitled to know what people who work for the council get paid? My humble opinion is that no, we shouldn't. They have things when they talk about them, sort of staff pay ranges, so a particular grade, like in a lot of big businesses, a particular grade will run from this amount of pay at the bottom to that amount of pay at the top, and everybody will be sitting within that pay scale. When I was a teacher, we all had pay scales like that. And you worked your way steadily up it. In actual fact, that was always a bit bizarre because you sort of got an increment up the pay scale, no matter how useless you were. You actually got an increment every year. And when you got to the top of your pay scale, that was where you stayed, unless you moved into the next band above. And usually that meant taking on additional responsibilities. That's how it all works. But where someone was on the pay scale, you never knew. The problem in a small organisation like Lowestoft Town Council is you haven't actually got that many employees. In a pay scale, you might have 2 or 3 in each one. In some pay bands, you might only have one person. So it gets a bit tricky. And realistically, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't particularly want what I get paid to actually be known to everybody else. I can't see any reasons for that whatsoever. Apart from in huge big companies, so if you look at the chief executive of the health service, they publish their pay. Same thing with other really big businesses. Why? Well, I think people want to know, how much does the Prime Minister get paid, all that sort of stuff. But what you don't really have any entitlement to is how much one of the secretaries in the office gets paid, because that's private and it's not of any public concern. And one of the things we always talk about in the secret sessions is they read the blurb out, don't they, that tells you exactly why we're going to secret session and the reasons for it. Yet today's meeting was about making secrets public, and I just thought that a bit odd. Have a watch of this.
Item 133 to receive and consider approval of apologies for absence.
So we've had apologies from Councillor Blowers and Councillor Newsom with reasons provided.
Councillor Parker.
Both accept, Chair.
Thank you. And seconded by Councillor Barker. Just before we did, so
I was just going to say that I think Councillor Pearce also in his long email said he was also not attending.
Oh, no Councillor Pearce.
But I don't know if he emailed you separately, Sarah and Lauren.
He did, but he didn't offer any apologies.
She didn't sound particularly happy there.
item 139, to consider the following regarding recruitment. 139.1, the recruitment of a town hall heritage apprentice.
Okay, so you've been supplied with a paper relating to that recruitment. There's a couple of matters that would need to be dealt with in confidential session on that, please, Chair. But other than that, you've got the paper, the timeline to proceed with the recruitment. It will be, a full-blown apprenticeship, and all the subsequent rules around apprenticeships will have to be followed.
Councillor Woods.
We've actually discussed this before and we agreed it when Kate was the heritage officer. So unless anything's radically changed, if we need to wait to make a decision in the confidential session, but basically I think we should approve it. It's a good move.
Forgive me if you're hearing anything weird in the background, but we've got builders in upstairs. I do apologise.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say, I think this is an excellent idea, and the more we can recruit young people, or it might not be a young person, it might be an older person, the better. So it's really good.
Thank you. Councillor Patience.
As I haven't seen the paper, well, the question is, how long is this apprenticeship?
Yeah.
A year. 1 year.
Paper was
1 year
provided in
apprenticeship?
18 months of the paper.
18 months then.
18 months, sorry.
Even 18 months.
Sorry.
You read the paper on any.
That's some apprenticeship, but 18 months. Thank you.
Okay.
Things must have changed since I was in the apprentice. I had a 6-year one.
I guess they have, Keith.
Councillor Patience is at it again. It's the one person that always brings a new meaning to the phrase thank you, as you'll discover as this video progresses.
That we know, and it's no criticism, we know that the councillor update is read by less than 50% of the members. We know that because we can see how many people look at it. Yeah. Okay. And that's, so if we produce another spreadsheet and attach it to the councillor update, is that going to get read? In law, council meetings are to make decisions and debate. Okay. We could have an agenda item as an update on things that were discussed at the last meeting, possibly is another way down, but we just really want to, we are stretched, who wouldn't be stretched with everything we've got on? So we just want some guidance on expectation and managing expectation, really. Well,
our acting town clerk clearly is a bit miffed with the councillor performance here. It's a good job our councillors don't get paid, isn't it? Because if half of them don't bother to read what is sent out by the office, I don't know. That's a bit worrying.
Just a comment, 50% of only 50% of councillors read the councillor update. It's pretty damning, isn't it? I mean, it's not that long. You can skip through it and read it. I mean, if only 50% are bothering to read it, we don't want to be producing more paperwork for people not to read.
In another organisation that I do belong to, we've got a guy there who's been using this tracker system. Whether it's the same or not, I don't know. It can get very cumbersome.
So that would be East Suffolk Council?
But I fully support the idea of a tracking system. Colleagues who I'm known to would know the system that I'm talking about, and the gentleman who's runs this system. But it becomes very cumbersome. So we need to be wary of that.
Indeed.
I've noticed this about Councillor Patience. He makes lots of statements, but never actually explains any of them. So he actually just assumes we all know what he's talking about and we'll all believe him. It can become very cumbersome. That's totally meaningless. It could become cumbersome if the user is not using it properly, or if it's too complicated, or it's too slow, any of those things. But he just makes these statements as if they're fact, and we're just expected to believe him.
Okay, can I just respond, Chair?
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah, I mean, and Lauren does a, brilliant job updating you. If
Absolutely.
that's going to become a formal agenda item, can I just, in way of protecting the hardworking staff, a month goes very quickly.
Does.
And I don't want it to be a public forum for why hasn't this happened, that happened, because a month goes very, very quickly at the moment.
I didn't envisage it like that at all, Sarah, but actually I envisaged it that if it was on the agenda, it means that Lauren can do what she does with the other things anyway,
Yeah.
and it might be no progress is made with this, and that's it. It's a question of keeping us up to date and keeping us realistic as well. We know, I mean, I think those of us who do read Councillor Update realise how much work does go on, and that we can't just kind of be doing things all the time. It's just, yes, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And now we get to the bit about publishing the staff salaries.
140.2, the publication of anonymised staff salaries.
So, Chair, I provided a meeting paper to this. It took a bit of research to, and there was some confusion even with SALT when I asked, but I did get the definitive answer, which I emailed out last night, along with accompanying paper of what has to be published at local council level. It was Councillor Patience who asked for the agenda item.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this has been raised 2 or 3 times over the past 7 years, and each time we've had a negative response because the amount of officers and staff that we had at that particular time. But as we are now recruiting hand over fist, only a job advert was on Facebook this morning for 2 jobs. Our staff and officers are getting larger by the week. That means I would like to see, very similar to which is really in the paperwork that we've had from Sarah yesterday, late last night, or in my case, a statement on officers, not naming names, but positions and the salaries attached to, not necessarily the salaries attached to them, but within the salary scales, i.e. we have a person on £25,000. We have 3 people on so-and-so, like that. And I've taken the note. What you've got to remember now is, as I said, our staff is getting larger and larger, and most of us around the table are what I would class as stakeholders. I believe, as a stakeholder, we should be allowed to know what the money's going out to and who to. Not too much who to, but as they do in all the district councils. I understand all the figures which have been produced, but we've got an opportunity now to become very transparent.
So Councillor Patience is saying that people on the personnel committee don't know how much people are being paid. Is that what he's really saying? Surely not.
I'm slightly unclear of what Councillor Patience is asking. He's asking for members to see the information, because I thought the agenda item was
I'm asking that to be published on our website.
Okay, so the guidance paper, section 40 of the Localism Act.
Yes.
Accountability in local pay, County Council, District Council, London Borough, Common Council, etc., Fire Service. There's no statutory requirement to publish that information, so it's for you to debate and decide.
So Sarah says section 40 of the Localism Act says that the council doesn't have to publish the salaries on the website. And despite saying yes, Councillor Patience appears to be really saying no. He's got a bee in his bonnet about this. I have no idea why.
I accept all that. And on the other paper, it says also the transparency code for larger councils over 200,000 K.
Yeah, as you need my supporting paper, which says that does not apply. It's changed.
Exactly.
It's
It
changed.
does not apply. What I'm requesting is it does apply. It's a simple matter of putting it out to be more transparent to the people who are paying our council tax.
I've given the advice. It's a decision for you.
It's a decision. Councillor Brooks.
Yeah, I'm not really too sure why Councillor Patience is so keen that that we individually publish all our staff salaries, when the guidance is that we don't have to. I mean, I thought when he raised the adverts, he was going to actually point out that actually in the advert it states how much the salary is for the ground maintenance and for the other, what was it, the Heritage Apprentice, was it, the other post? It's actually there. I think we do need, as personnel members and potentially the public as well, maybe we do need to know, maybe they do need to know how much our most senior staff earn. So I would include the town clerk, the deputy clerk and the facilities manager.
So the three most senior posts in our council get their ones announced to the public and the rest get anonymised. Doesn't make any sense.
You're dead right. Absolutely. I didn't mean, and I probably misinterpreted what, or you didn't explain it properly. What I'm not suggesting that we have the amount of the apprentice. What I'm saying is the senior officers, and we put a statement out below that the remaining staff and officers are covered by what we class as the Green Book. That covers all the what you've just spoken about. Thank you.
Green Book, we've had this conversation before.
We don't have a green book.
It doesn't apply to.
Doesn't apply.
Work to the Green Book,
No,
Chair.
we don't, not local councils.
Not local
We'll have this debate
councils.
Again.
Sorry?
Not local councils don't.
Well, why do we always go refer to the Blue Green Book then when we challenge things?
Can you give an example of referring to it? Because I've never heard it referred to. Thank you.
Can you give me an example, Keith?
Clearly, our acting town clerk is frustrated by this because he's completely wrong. He's just out of date. He doesn't understand how things have changed. And I do sometimes think he gets confused between East Suffolk Council's rules and the way that we work on Lowestoft Town Council. Two very different organisations. He's just got it wrong again.
That, oh,
Well, yeah. If we debate something outside normal work, for example, holidays, we often get a reference. What do the Green Book suggest? And our staff are paid under the local agreement, which has covered what they call the Green Book.
okay.
Simple as that.
I'm starting to notice a bit of a trend. He doesn't like being told he's wrong by certain people. And I think between our acting town clerk and Councillor Patience, I'd follow the acting town clerk's advice any day. I've never known it to be wrong so far. She's very efficient and she knows what she's doing. Councillor Patience, sadly, is demonstrating that he's actually away with the fairies. He has no idea at all. He thinks he does, and he won't be told he's wrong.
And therefore, if you publish actual job titles and the salary, it's immediately identifiable who the member of staff is. So there may be a compromise on this, is that we just use bands and we give so many about senior staff being in this wage band, and then so we balance it down that way. So we protect the kind of rights of an individual, because yes, it is public money, but it's also personal details about what you're earning. And so therefore, if we could work to a compromise on that, and I would suggest possibly we actually, I know Keith may not be happy with this, but we actually go back to Sarah to actually bring forward what a proposal of how that could look would be for us to consider.
Now, that seems to me to be a sensible compromise. Publishing for the people who actually sort of want to know what the council are paying their staff as a generalism, rather than make it specific and target individuals, which, being honest, I mean, you know, do you actually want your wages displayed to everybody if you don't have to? I mean, that seems like a bit of an infringement of sort of personal privacy to me.
But I am not saying that we are hiding anything, because I think it's transparent. And unfortunately, where Councillor Brooks is coming up with this, is that although you will actually say that, say, the town clerk is earning this much, you are automatically putting it to an individual who can be identified.
You do it, yeah.
East Suffolk do it, but they have a legal requirement to do it.
Different level of council.
Yeah.
I'll bring you back to the paper I sent out last night. Section 40 of the Localism Act sets out quite clearly who has to publish salary details or doesn't. I would like to ask what right of challenge officers would have of the council making an unlawful decision about publication of salaries.
Would it be unlawful?
That's what I'm being told.
The section 40 of the of the Transparency Code says quite clearly what you have to publish. You are now saying that your decision, no, it's Councillor Colby who's made a proposal, which isn't what you're saying, Councillor Brooks, is that you will publish the salary of the clerk, the deputy town clerk, and the facilities manager. So my salary, not I've got a problem with it, but my salary is out there in the public domain when it doesn't need to be. What Councillor Colby is proposing is the salary scale bands, which is best practice, because when the code, the Transparency Code, before it was changed in January 25, if that was still applying the codes to councils over 200,000, you only had to publish the bands.
So I'm going back. So no, I'm sorry, I'm going back to Councillor Colby's proposal. It's been seconded by Councillor Murray. I want to show of hands for that proposal.
I want to clarify something because then I might vote for it, I might not.
Go on.
Right. When you say the band, included in the band will be the range, or will it be band 2.34 refer to X, Y? That's all I want. If the band will be from blah, blah to blah, blah, then I will vote for your proposal.
That is what my proposal will be. There are actual salary, starting salary and final salary in the scales we use.
So we're all clear on Councillor Colby's proposal. Councillor Murray.
I just confirm I support that. One of the particular reasons is it would seem divisive if a group of people who were not in the higher level were grouped together and put in a pot that say there are the grounds maintenance team, for example, earn collectively that, but this person, that person, that person earn that. That would seem a bit divisive. So that's why I think the banding approach is the right way.
Last word from Keith.
Yeah,
Before I go
I'm trying to sum all this up. What East Suffolk Council do and Suffolk County Council, they put on the website, we have 3 officers on a certain figure, 1 officer on a certain figure, 15 on another figure. That's all I'm suggesting. I think that really mirrors what Councillor Colby is
absolutely.
I'm not.
He just can't leave it, can he? Sarah made a very succinct explanation about how it works. He still won't have it and keeps banging on about East Suffolk Council. East Suffolk Council, perhaps I should do a bit of delving.
We've had the proposal. Okay, thanks.
That's all I'm asking for. That
We've had the proposal. It's been seconded. Can I have a show of hands, please? Thank you. That's everybody. That's carried.
Well, there we go. The 7-year quest to get total transparency from Councillor Patience failed because the proposal was to publish bands, and that went through. So there we are, 7 years down the drain. I did have a quick look on East Suffolk Council's website because, of course, don't forget, East Suffolk Council pay their councillors. Their council allowances for the year 2023 to 2024 revealed that Councillor Keith Patience earned £11,197 for his council duties. So I'm glad we're doing total transparency because our councillors on LTC don't get paid at all. There you go. That's today's video. Think of it what you will. See you on the next one. Look after yourselves. Take care.